All right, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Channels Beams Google Plus Hangout. My name is Victor Matthias, well, as always. But today, we're shifting our attention. Now we're looking at the devaluation of Naira. We're looking at the PVC distribution issues as well as the recapturing of Mubi by the Nigerian army. I mean, we've heard so much about that, but let's just begin with some good news. And Victor Bamshai, I'll come to you. You are in Ukraine, if I'm not correct, if I'm not mistaken. What would you say generally? I mean, now looking at the fact that dollar rates has changed because of this devaluation, how would you say this has affected the general populace? That is the devaluation of naira.
Oh, thank you very much. I would like to say first that I'm not in the financial world. I mean, I do not know much of economics, but I will talk as a citizen who is affected by whatever decision has been made. I do not know why it was made, but every decision has the effect it takes on the lives of citizens. For me as a person, it has been negative. Just this last week, I do not reside in Nigeria, but I get money from Nigeria. I mean, my sponsors are in Nigeria. Those who send me money, and if they will send it, it will be according to the dollar rate. And the truth is, when you devalue naira and when you devalue your own currency, and let's say the goods, because most of them are imported, and salary or the income is not increased, obviously it becomes negative to the money receiver. So that every worker now who receives money is at loss. But it doesn't really matter to those who are the top class because they have the abundance of money. But when you bring it down to the layman, to that ordinary man in Nigeria, the devaluation of naira as against the dollar and every other currency is of a bad effect. So generally, I think something else should have been done. And the problem is that I think Nigeria has dependent for too long and for too long and too much on oil. Oil is not the only resource Nigeria has. We have so many, and if we should begin to capitalize on that, let's go back to revamp our cocoa industry. Let's revamp the agricultural sector. There are other minings, there are other things Nigeria can get money from other than petrol. Now that probably let me assume that the West wants to target the Russian economy. They being a major oil producer, it's affecting their economy. And Nigeria, because also we are depending so much on oil, it also will affect our economy. So at the end of the day, the problem goes back to a blurry leadership, and it's having an adverse effect on the ordinary Nigerian life. Thank you.
All right, Victor, you made your submission, but unfortunately, I was the only one who could hear what you were saying. Gordy couldn't hear you, and Michael Shosong couldn't hear you as well. But I don't know if you can just look at your settings once again. So you can just address these things again so that they hear. Gordy, did you hear him?
I heard him from the beginning after he said he's not an economist. So that was the last thing I heard.
Okay, Michael, what about you? Michael?
I can't hear Michael.
Yeah, I can't hear Michael too. Can you come again, Michael? All right, so we're still having issues with Michael, but then, so Michael, if you can hear me, just if you can look at the top, the center of your screen, there are some tools there. Just look at your mic and make sure it's not on mute.
Yeah.
And then I'll come back to you. But just before you guys do that, let's come back to you now, Gordy. Gordy, I mean, you just heard him. He's not an economist, but he has made, some statements as to why the devaluation of naira does not augur well for the citizen. That's the layman on the street, But then, what are your thoughts? Let's just go to that.
I think that I will also say that as a non-economist on my part, I'm not an expert in this field. I do think that the devaluation of the naira does not in any way improve the lives of the people, does not improve the opportunity for people to have more access to goods and services. So because everything now becomes the value of everything becomes more for the people, because now you actually are trying to strengthen and have the dollar become more strong. So and then that's the way I understand it. I think that this whole thing, kind of like I was saying the other time, if we did say that we weren't anticipating such a period, then it means that the people managing our economy should all be fired, because these are the things that they should have people that are being paid in the ministries or departments of finances and or economic planning to be able to be getting ready for a situation as this. This year we were celebrating that Nigeria has become the largest economy in Africa, and because of all of a sudden we actually are struggling because the prices of oil did slump, and then we have to devalue the naira. So how does that actually compare with becoming the largest economy in Africa? I am not an economist, but I don't think that you need an economist to know that when the value of dollar to naira becomes very high, it means that every other thing becomes high. Somebody will say, okay, if I send someone $10 today, then the person have more money. But the thing is that what you bought at 100 naira 2 months ago would now be sold at 200 naira. So it actually does not make any much benefit to the person who you're giving the dollar to. And the thing is that in Nigeria, when things go, and then the thing that we enjoy, such as the fuel which we produce based on the fact that we have crude oil but does not refine the product, we are buying it at a very high price. Now, what are the strategies to ensure that when such a situation occurs, where we do have at this moment, that the ordinary citizen without an increase in salary will be able to purchase goods and services almost at the same value as he did or was able to before the devaluation and before the fall in the oil prices? These are the questions that we need to be asking the managers of our economy. But from the layman's perspective, I don't see how the whole process actually benefits the ordinary person, because it is only those who are still rich and spending in dollars that will be able to still spend more money, because for them it's more opportunity. It's advantageous.
All right, God, you're also towing the same line. But Michael, I don't know if you can hear us now. I mean, we should be the ones hoping we can hear you. Can you just come? Hello, Michael. Okay, it seems you can hear us, but we can't hear you. And are you sure your mic is not mute?
Every time you connect it on mute, it's mute. I don't know why. It's always going to mute, but it's not on mute. I unmute it now.
All right, great, Michael. I think we can hear you now. Can you hear him? Bamishaye Victor. All right, Gordy, can you hear him?
Yes, I can hear him.
All right, great. Victor, go ahead. They are towing the same line. They're saying that the devaluation does not augur well for the layman on the street, for the poor man on the street, for the low earner. But then, what are your thoughts? What do you think about this policy that has been adopted by the Nigerian government? Michael, that's you.
Okay, sorry about that. I thought you were talking to Gordy. Really, I would say the devaluation of Naira is in Nigeria now is really a bad thing for Nigeria now, because that is my own opinion, because all the goods Nigerians are using are imported. Most of the goods, I can't say all, most of the goods are imported, and most of these importers, they convert Naira to dollars to get these goods down to Nigeria. So, and whenever they convert the Naira to dollars, and the rate is when they use to sell, that's what they use to sell their products, their goods. So this devaluation of Naira is going to definitely affect Nigeria economy. ordinary person on the street, you understand? Because most of the clothes that we use in Nigeria is imported. So that's my reason why I believe that this devaluation of Naira. I think the devaluation of Naira were done because of the oil price. Because of the when the oil price went down. So I think the Minister of Finance have to, all these guys have to devalue Naira. But I think for a while, it's going to be for a while. Nigerians have to go through this hardship. Then I think with some time, everything will they will stabilize everything in some few time now. That is my opinion on that.
Okay, great. So just before we continue, we have a new caller, caller day, Kayode. Thank you for coming on the Hangout. I want to believe you're calling from Lagos, Nigeria.
Yes, Victor, thank you.
Yeah, all right, great. So I'll come back to you, but just before I do so, let me remind everyone that it's a Hangout, and then at times noise filters, so I deliberately put you guys on mute, and then unmute you when it's your time to make your statement on the issues we're talking about. So Kalade, I'll come back to you now. Victor Bamisaye, Godi Wogu, and Michael Suson have already made their statement on the devaluation of Naira, and they do not agree with the Nigerian government on that because they feel that it is not a good policy that will affect the lives of average Nigerians positively. But you are here in Nigeria. I mean, they seem to be outside the country. Victor is in Ukraine, Godi is in the Czech Republic, and Michael is in Spain. What has been your experience since the policy took place?
Well, to start with, Victor, I think the government found themselves in a very tight situation. They couldn't just help things out. If I remember vividly, sometimes Nigerians have been complaining that things are so bad, but government keep telling us that, oh, our economy is doing well, everything is fine, everything is under control. But I think ever since the crude oil price dropped drastically, it hit them so much that they couldn't just find a way to get out of the mess they found themselves, except by devaluating the naira. So to me, it's a two-way thing. Fine. The truth is, it doesn't make any meaning to the average Nigerian because nothing has changed. It's the truth, nothing has changed. But I think on the part of the government, it is a necessity. It is what they have to do for them to just for Nigeria to keep moving. That is what I think, and that is just my own submission concerning that.
Okay, great. Okay, Victor Barmisai. Okay, go ahead. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, I do. I receive my salary in naira. Yes. Let me tell you one thing you don't understand right now. What I mean by nothing has changed to the average man simply means the average man keep going with their daily business. They keep buying their gari, they keep buying their pepper and things in the market. Doesn't concern them. I'm a businessman. For example, I gave a quotation to get some equipment in at the rate of 168 per dollar. But right now it's over 118 naira per dollar. But what do I have to do? I have to go back to my client and they come, this quotation can lie again. We have to, because of the changes, and we have to review it. It's a very simple thing. It's going to have an effect on the economy. But all I'm just trying to say is they found themselves in this mess. But the only thing they could do is for us to keep moving. It's just for them to do what they've done. Everything will just skyrocket. That's the simple truth. You know how Nigerian work. Everybody knows the dollar is at 180 something naira now. If I want to do a business, I won't give a quote based on the previous exchange rate. I will give based on the present exchange rate. That is it. That's what I'm saying. Okay, yes, yeah.
All right, Victor. Let's just hold it first of all.
Hello? Connection is too bad. I'm having problem hearing you guys. Too bad.
Can you hear me now? Okay, who is playing music? Can you kindly, Hannibal, it should be you. Can you please put your music down? All right, Michael, can you hear me now? Gordy, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, but I cannot hear. I didn't hear Michael. I didn't hear Victor. I didn't hear, what was going on. I mean, this is Yeah, I think only Michael didn't hear anyone.
Okay, then he can hear us. Michael, can you hear us now?
Yes, I can't hear
Okay,
anybody.
great.
I can't hear.
But can you hear me?
I think I need to. Hello? Yes, I can
Yeah,
hear you now, Matthias.
Yeah.
I think I can hear you now. But I
Okay,
think
so,
if I cannot hear you properly, I think I need to. Hello?
yeah, I can hear you. Go ahead. Okay, maybe you log off and come back on.
What about Victor? I cannot hear Victor at all whenever he's speaking. So.
Okay. Victor just dropped and got back in, I think.
Yeah, I'm back.
All right, Gordy, can you hear Victor?
Yeah.
Okay, Hannibal, what about you?
I can hear you.
Okay, you can hear. Kalade, can you hear everybody?
Yes, I can hear everybody.
All right, great. So let's go ahead. Okay, let's hope Michael comes back. All right, Victor, let me just come back to you. I was going to actually start with Gordy, but then he wasn't he wasn't going to hear. Excuse me. Excuse me. So just looking at the PVC distribution issues, I mean, it had so much noise, but people are even beginning to think that it is a deliberate attempt by INEC to skew the elections come 2015 in the favor of a particular political party. Do you agree with that?
You see, speculations will never be made. The fact should have been if it would have been right if INEC had done the assignment rightly to avoid all these speculations. I will not totally agree because the fact that you do not do your assignment well does not mean you are trying to do it in favor of somebody else. But you know, the problem is that you've not done it anyway, so speculations will arise. So I will not throw my weight behind those speculations, but I will rather chastise INEC for not doing their homework well, even as now that the election is so near. They've been giving us excuses, and I don't know, it's like the INEC is suffering from excusitis. That's the inflammation of their excuse producing gland. And you see, so I will not totally agree that they are doing it in favor of one party, but you know, when the machinery is still being run by the executive, speculations cannot be exempted. You see, there will be speculations. I can't hear you. I can't hear you.
All right, what about now?
I can hear you now.
Yeah.
All right, great. So Gordy, I was going to come to you. I mean, I'm sure you heard Victor's take on that issue, but what would you think? I mean, looking at the way the PVC issue was, you know, is being handled, because I'm hearing, I mean, some pockets of, you know, dissent here and there, local government wards, people complaining. I find my name, I can't find my card, I have to re-register. What do you make of all this?
I think it's like Victor has said, the fact that it just boils down to inefficiency and inability for us to manage things properly. We don't know how to operate or do things that are very simple. And also, we believe we like to relax, and you know, in the last minute we just rush at things, and that is why our society is still stagnant and is not moving. I believe that I don't think that INEC is trying, or the leadership of INEC is trying to, like, you know, do this exercise in favor of some people, but it shows that basically that some people at some point were sleeping on duty or taking things for granted, and in the last minute they realizing that they want to really do the job. That is why we find the situation. Just the cities that have been affected, okay, Kano, Lagos, and where else? You know, these are the most popular cities, and it shows that, okay, perhaps the guys didn't really realize that they do have a lot of work to do in those places, and now in the last minute they want to really, they are saying everything. So this is just so that the shoddy nature of how we tackle simple tasks. What does it take? What does it require to give people identity card? Just fill up your name and, you know, create a database and, you know, have the proper IT infrastructure and then security network set up, and just, you know, print out the cards. You know, what are they waiting for? Are they waiting for people, or people still fighting about the who is going to get the contract to print those cards or what? So I believe that INEC has had enough time to prepare, but perhaps the people they have contracted out these jobs, or the people they have hired to finish the process, they've not been on their tail to get them to do the job at the right time. These things, people should already have gotten their cards 6 months before now. It is not 2 months to the election. In fact, December is done, because I don't imagine after next week that people will be actively doing some job. And you have January, and people are still complaining of their cards. So I think that this whole thing, for me, if I don't know what is the percentage of success or what is the situation in all regions.
Okay, I think Gordy is kind of breaking.
I think
Okay, Gordy, if you can hear me, you're really breaking and we can't hear what you're saying.
Okay, I hear you, but I don't know if the other guys hear me.
Oh yeah, they can hear you, but then you were breaking at a point.
Okay, what I'm saying is that if INEC is really sincere in their responsibility to ensure that the elections are conducted in February, they should have a plan B for all those that are affected at this moment. Hello, do you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Great. So that means that people who are of voting age should have an opportunity to accommodate them to be able to vote on that day. Not having a PVC shouldn't stop people from voting if they really sincerely want to have the election held. Otherwise, they should think about, the government should think about what to do, either to move the election to the next quarter of the year, or I don't know. But I think that I don't think that the propaganda or the speculations that INEC is trying to favor some people is really strong. It's just that, okay, in Nigeria we don't trust ourselves. Nobody trusts anybody, and knowing how politics works, everything is possible. But then they should actually have the mechanism to be able to deal with issues like this. They should have thought about it. They are learned people. They are educated people. I don't know how they think, when they go into offices. If really people sit down and strategize and make plans on how to run things.
Victor.
All right, great. I was just going to come to you. Okay, so now there's an echo somewhere.
From you.
Okay. All right, I'll take care of that in the meantime. But Kolade, let me come to you. You are here. I don't know what your experience was, but I mean, you've heard INEC saying what they're saying. They're ready to make sure that 2015 is free and fair. And then you've also, as an electorate, have been on the part of those who have seen what is going on. But what do you make? What do you make of the whole issue?
Okay, Victor. To start with, sincerely speaking, I'm saying it in a two-way dimension. The first way, I wouldn't want to completely rule out the plan of intentionally just favoring a particular party towards the forthcoming election. I'll use myself for example. I went for my PVC collection. I got to my center. I saw my name on the list. I couldn't get my card. I insisted. I asked the copper there, and the guy told me, every card that has a particular digit without a alphabet in it, just a 9 or 10 digits, that they are invalid. They have to go and re-register. I said that's not true, and that's not possible. We checked all the cards with the guy. We couldn't find mine. I left. I got home. I checked my wife's card. The same digit on mine is where it was my wife's. She went to our center, different location. She went to our center. The same thing, she couldn't get it. My younger brother too, I noticed we registered in the same place. The same thing applied to his card. He couldn't get it. But I knew within myself that if I go and register, it's going to amount to double registration. So I said, I'm not going to register. I'm going to go to INEC, the local government office, to go and sort it out there with them. But since then till now, about 3 weeks till now, I've not been able to do that. I've been extremely busy. So, and we have just 2 months to the election. What happens if I'm not able, or if I'm not determined within myself to go to that office, which is over 30 kilometers to where I reside? What happens if I don't devote my time and I purposely just conclude to go and get it? That means I will be disenfranchised. I will not be able to vote. And just imagine so many people, especially those who are not learned, those who do not even have the means of going through distress. Just imagine what will happen to them. And I see it from this angle. Why is it happening in mostly opposition states? We didn't hear of any of such in Delta. We didn't hear of any of such in Bayelsa. We didn't hear of any of such in some other states that we can say are stronghold states for the ruling party. To me, I'm seeing it in a two. I'm not blaming those who are speculating, because if you sit down critically and look at it, you will see that there is more to what we are saying. If we are battling with getting voters card as of today, nobody has ever said what is going to happen to the machines they are bringing to authenticate to the cards that we are not even able to collect in the first place. There is so many there's too many ways too many sides of the coin to this story. So to me, I'm only giving INEC a benefit of doubt. If you ask me deep down in the inside of me, I would think there is something fishy somewhere. That is the truth.
All right, Kalade, I mean, it's always nice to have that home perspective, and that's why you're here. We're really glad you're here and you're giving it to us just like this from home. But then let me just move forward. Hannibal, you've been on the Hangout for a while now, but you haven't said anything. And we actually looked at quite a number of things. First, we looked at the devaluation of Naira. You're also abroad. I don't know how it has affected you. Hannibal, can you hear me? All right, great. And then we now came down to the issue of the permanent voters card distribution. I mean, there's been so much issues surrounding that exercise. But then I don't know what you think about that. What's your take?
Yeah, for the, because I see also in the news, complaints about the distribution of the PVC. My take on that is that it's a matter of incompetence, because when I listen to the INEC officials and the way they speak, I see high level of gross incompetence among them. But the problem is that government parastatals, they should always try to employ competent and experienced people to do their jobs. It's not enough to ask for allocation all the time, and when they give you good money, you want to give it to your friends. They always want to give the contract to their people to execute the job. That is the problem we are having. It is very easy to prepare voter registration card for anybody. You put in the database and all these things, 1 month they can cover the whole of registered voters. But because of incompetence and corruption as well, that is why we have all this problem. And when people complain, they always have a way of trying to exonerate themselves, trying to tell us something about database crashing. They speak of database as if it's something coming from the moon. There is no big deal about programs and database and all that thing. It's because they are incompetent. They don't even know what they do. They don't know their job. They don't employ the right people to do specific duties. That is why we have all these problems. You understand? So the advice is that they should always try to give jobs to qualified people, not to give out contracts to illiterates and anybody that they can find. You understand? That's how it is.
All right. What do you make of the devaluation of Naira?
Yeah, for the devaluation of Naira, it's actually good to discourage importation of goods coming to the country. Because we discovered that, Nigerians, they are so much driven by importation. The bigger boys that are supposed to drive the economy, to encourage local manufacture of goods, what they do is they spend their time and their money, importing everything that we can produce locally. You understand? So with the devaluation of the Naira, they now need more dollars, more Naira, to buy whatever they are going to buy up there. So it in turn encourages local manufacture of goods. They welcome development. It is that those imported goods will now the effect will trickle down to the ordinary Nigerians. You understand? But then on the long run, if it will help to encourage local manufacture of goods. And if we can sustain the tempo, we will have more locally manufactured goods in the country, which will discourage importers. You understand? Because if we can produce what we are importing, we will be able to show our results and with local production. That is it. It's a good idea. It's a good idea.
Okay, so you're the first person to applaud the federal government for this step that they've taken, but then we're moving forward. I know some people want to say something to that, but then we don't have time. We need to go to the last subtopic that we're looking at today, which is security matters. And thankfully, we heard that the Nigerian military have captured some regions in Adamawa State that were overrun by Boko Haram. Victor, let me start with you. I'm sure you've heard that good news, and what do you think? I mean, there was so much, backlash on the Nigerian military that they left citizens. In fact, they said some of them ran with the citizens into Cameroon. At a point, they tactically maneuvered into Cameroon, and then sometimes we heard that some just decided to flee their posts and leave their arms and ammunition at the mercy of the insurgents. But now the story has changed. They've recaptured one of the biggest towns. In fact, it's the second biggest town after the state capital in Adamawa State. What would you say? Development.
I would say it's a good one. It's a good one for Nigerian. Personally, I think I've always believed of the Nigerian military. This was the same military that went to Sierra Leone and kept peace. The military that was in Liberia. Oh, come on. What are we talking about? This military is capable. All they need is adequate equipment, they so that they will not be overpowered by the efficiency of the armory. But I believe so much that in the ability of the Nigerians, they've always been giving their best. I'm talking of the soldiers on ground. I'm not talking of their commanders who could be the saboteurs. I'm not talking of those who may be in the high place. I'm talking of that average Nigerian soldier who is on the war front. I believe in their ability. They can do so well. And not to talk, also in the wake of I also love to talk about the cancellation of the contract between training contract between the Nigerian and the United States. I don't know what's that.
Oh yeah, go ahead. I mean, yeah, there was a contract actually. I mean, hitherto, where the Nigerian military, not a contract, but an agreement that they were going to train Nigerian soldiers, on counterterrorism and how to, rescue captives and hostages, that have been taken by militants or insurgents. But along the line, I don't know what happened. There was a misgiving in that relationship. And then here we are, the contract has been cancelled, and then Nigeria is now looking to another country to seek help to fight this insurgents. Do you think it's a good one?
That's to me?
Yes, you, because you brought the issue up.
I actually wanted to hear from others, but anyway, I think the country must get the country who needs help. The United States we not sit down and even the Bible says when God was telling Samuel, you grieved over Saul too long. We won't stay and grieve over United States for a very long time. We need to bring help.
Okay, so Victor, I am now finding it really hard to listen to hear you. I don't know if any other one has the same problem. If you do, can you just wave your hand? Okay, so we're kind of having issues trying to get what you're saying. But before you said that, let me come to you, Godi. Godi, can you move your camera a bit? Yeah, good. All right, so let's just now look at the Nigerian military and looking at, yes, they've recorded some success, by recapturing some major towns in the overrun territories by the Boko Haram. But then they also have swapped, they've changed their tactic now, looking at receiving help from foreign allies to tackle this insurgency, to bring these people to justice, people who have desecrated the territorial integrity of this country. Do you think it's a step in the right direction?
I kind of lost in this whole military strategy and all these approaches. I'm lost in the whole process because we've been hearing about this tactical maneuver. We've read about they recapture the town, and then the next day the town has also been taken over by the militants or the terrorists, and then again we hear that they have also taken it back. So it's like game of who occupies in this whole thing. I think that this war that the government is fighting or the military is fighting against this terrorism has actually been dealt with making blows, and there are so many instances and so many pointers that
Okay, Gotti, you're breaking also.
have not really, been serious to fight this war. Hello.
Okay, you went off for a while. Now you're back. Can you just come all over again? Okay, now we can't even see you, Gotti, but then we'll come back to you before you sort that. Hannibal, let's come to you and listen to what you have to say about this.
Yeah, hello?
Go ahead.
Okay, actually, you see, the recent success of, you can attribute it to the outcry of Nigerians and the international community, and most importantly, the local vigilante board. You understand? Without the cooperation of the local community, there's no way you can defeat terrorism. Even if you bring the best military to the community, and the local community, they are not cooperating with the military people on ground, there's no way you defeat terrorism. So we should give kudos to the local vigilantes, with the so-called civilian JTF, because we all know that there is a high level of sabotage in the military hierarchy. The only people that is helping us to win this war against terrorism is the local vigilante force. They are the only ones that will tell you that this person is a Boko Haram member, or this person, we are suspecting this particular movement. And come to think of it, you see, there is something coming up now that most of those people that is being killed, they are from Chad. So I think that it is high time we begin to think of a way to even take the war across the border to start. Because these are the people that is doing so much damage in Nigerian community. So it is true that we have this success for the now, but if they can keep the tempo going, keep this tempo high, and the military should be well motivated. When they do good, we should applaud them that they are done good, and we want them to do more. So it's not enough to say they push the Haram back or you reclaim territory. What we want is, I don't want to hear that today the Haram overrun one small village, and tomorrow the military have recaptured that village. It becomes something kind of a game. You understand? So we should come to a state where the military is able to demystify the Boko Haram set in a situation where we have good intelligence gathering, and they are unable to strike their soft targets anymore. That is the state that we are looking at. Because if we keep on saying today they overrun this community, tomorrow the military capture it, and we will go with it go like a game of circles, round and round and round. They should take this battle to the Boko Haram, the base, the so-called Sambisa forest. I've been thinking for a while, and many people have been having the same thought as well. That why is it impossible to overrun Sambisa forest? Is it impossible to invade the so-called Sambisa forest? Because we cannot be pushing these people back, and they go there to regroup, get their arms and ammunition and the personnel, and come back again to strike. It is high time we take this battle straight to their domain. So that's what I am thinking about.
All right, thank you, Hannibal. Let me come back to Gotti before I come to you, Kaladi. Gotti just joined back on the Hangout. Gotti, can you hear me? All right, great. You were trying to make a statement earlier on before your internet kept you at bay, but then now you're back, thankfully. I hope your internet doesn't put you at bay, but then before you get on with your statements, Benjamin Obagoriola joins us. Benjamin, thank you for coming on the Hangout, and good afternoon, at least here in Nigeria. All right, Gordy, go ahead. Okay, Gordy, I really can't hear. I can't hear you. Yeah, all right, I can hear you now. Just before you continue, okay, Colady, I think your daughter is really in the Christmas mood. Yeah, because I can see the flowers at the back. I can see the tree. So if you can just put yourself on mute, because I've tried to do it from here and it seems not to be working. If you can help me do that yourself, that'd be awesome. All right, thank you very much. Gordy, go ahead, please. Oh, Gordy, we can't hear you. Gordy, we can't hear you. Okay. While Gordy tries to sort his issues out, I'm kind of to you now, if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you.
Let's also just, all right, great. Let's just even get the home perspective. I mean, you've heard about these things and you've heard stories again back there at home, but then at first we heard the US were coming, the UK they were coming, France were coming, Israeli, and we were all up in the sky in the heavens, feeling so grateful and feeling so happy that okay, military superpowers are going to come and help us. But then at the dying minute, we have changed our tactic. We have refused or we have cancelled whatever agreement we had with the United States and now have shifted to Russia. Do you think it's a good step for us to have taken in the fight against terror in this country?
Well, to start with,
Yeah.
I think about the US-Russia thing, I think it's about the arms deal. It's about where they purchase arms and not coming for assistance. I think it's about, okay, they've shifted from US to Russia to get ammunition in terms of purchasing ammunition. Okay, to come to the issue of Mobi, reclaiming Mobi and our military. Well, to an extent, I would say our military are trying their best. But to me as a person, the best they are putting in is not okay. It's not acceptable. If you look back, sometimes as in, okay, to start with, as I just sat down a few days ago and I tried to analyze things. When we had the emergency rule in these states, the success our military have been recording in the last few weeks is even far greater than what they recorded when there was emergency rule. Then what is that telling me? That is telling me one thing, that there is something fishy somewhere. I sat down again to see. I sat down again to critically analyze the recapturing of some towns, like Mubi, for example. Mubi has been in the custody of Boko Haram for a while, but this time they went and they say they've recaptured. And what I keep asking myself, in the quest of recapturing, who among the top commanders of these militants, of these terrorists, are going to be able to either kill or arrest, to get out information? And if I sat down again to look at it, I hope the terrorists are not, in quotes, tactically maneuvering, and our military are coming to tell us they are recapturing the towns. Because if these guys are technically maneuvering to probably Sambisa Forest, which they call their base, and our military are not taking the fight to go and meet them there, that means we are only postponing the evil days. Look, in Nigeria, I think our military need to, for somebody like me, they need to put in a lot to redeem their image, because I have a very good understanding of the security industry, especially today's security industry. And if I sit down to look at things, sincerely, they still have a very long way to go. If you just come and tell me you've done this, you've done that, without convincing me with real evidence, I'll just laugh at you. To me, I've been wondering, I hope our terrorists are not doing a tactical maneuvering to go and re-strategize, while our military are busy believing, oh, we are recapturing. Because let them come and let them take the hit to their base. That is what I'm saying. Take the hit to their base. Let us see their top. Look, look, I think let not just say something to me because I don't want to get peace. They get me peace easily, please. Thank you.
Kayode called it our terrorists.
All right. So would say something, Victor? What did you say?
I said Kayode said our terrorists.
Are they not our terrorists?
Oh, well, the Nigerians, I believe that's what he means.
They're on Nigerian soil. They claim to be Nigerians. You get it? They are Nigerian. They claim to be Nigerians.
Okay, let's just go forward. Gotti is back once more. Gotti, we'll take this from you before we wrap this conversation. You were going to make something, you were going to say something here about the insurgency issue right now. So, but let's just hear from you and then before we go.
Okay, just a quick one. We were here a couple of weeks before. We were being hoodwinked that there's going to be a ceasefire, and we have come to learn that the ceasefire was fake, and we know the source of this information. And our government is dining with a country which is or were perceived to actually be involved in such negotiations, and nothing is happening. And we have heard that someone was caught with arms that were supposed to be supplied to the terrorists, which belongs to the leader of this country that is negotiating on our behalf. And we are still on a marathon, going and trying to.
You can hear this hangout.
Hello?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, we're going to seek for help.
Go ahead.
We seem to know where all these problems are coming, but we're not taking a strong action, a decisive action to go find a way to actually solve this issue. Blaming the Americans for not supplying us equipment, blaming the Americans for not continuing the training of our people or our military people. How is it that all of a sudden our military personnel are not able to actually have the required training all of a sudden in this last hour? How is it that they had a training before to be able to go and help insurgency in other countries, and in our own turf we are not able to fight insurgency? So this whole thing about capturing a town today and capturing a town tomorrow, for me, is just this is the basics of the military activity, so if they are not being able to do that and celebrating that they captured the town, which is what they are supposed to be protecting, then that is really, something very, it's a child's play. So I think that we have to really, the people who are making the strategies and the plannings and everything really have to ask themselves a question. Do they really want to fight insurgency? Do they really want to stop these terrorists? Why is it that we have to blame some people all the time for the reasons of our own inactions? It is it's marks of irresponsibility on our part. What has happened to the case? What has happened to the ceasefire deal? What has happened to the fact that a man was being arrested with arms that he was going to supply the terrorists, and is an associate of the president of the country, whom our president on the next day went to have some kind of familiarity visit with? So these things, there are a lot of questions that needs to be asked. I don't think that we should blame the Americans for pulling out of the training. Why would they blame them that they are not able, they don't want to use the equipment which are to be? So should we withdraw all the necessary equipments that are used in war to come and give training? And then in the process of withdrawing the equipment and giving the trainings, then the insurgents will attack and say, oh, it was because we withdrew from the battlefield to get some training. That was why they captured another town. I mean, this is crazy. So why can't they know? Why can't they have people in batches who will go for the training somewhere where they would, come back and another people would go, maybe to America or to some other places? How many countries around the world that are actually waiting for America for them to be able to take the necessary actions in terms of military strengthening? So I don't know. This whole thing is just all political gimmick, and then in the military hierarchy, they should actually ask themselves questions. What do they want to achieve in the end?
All right, political gimmicks in the military hierarchy or not, what we all want is a safe Nigeria, a Nigeria that will once again have control of all of its territory. But then this is where we're going to call it quits. But just before we go, Victor Bamshai, I'll come to you. What is your last word?
My last word is that let me start with the PVP registration. collection rather. I think we should go back to the root. I think the root problem is that Nigeria somehow does not have a control of its population. I mean, in terms of registration. If the national population commission, then Nigeria age rate. So that, for example, in Ukraine, where once a child is 17 or 18 years old, he gets to apply for it. So imagine and get immediately as they get their passport, also their national ID card and their permanent voters card. It's on ground. I think it will be a lot of last hour rush. Then for the Nigerian military, I think U.S. not supplying arms to Nigeria is the policy of the United States. Even in Ukraine, where I stay, with all the intimidation they face from Russia, U.S. did not yet supply arms to them. Why? Because U.S. has a policy of not supplying arms to countries that may seemingly use it for genocide. So that is their policy. And I think a national policy of another country should not affect your policy. The good step they've taken is U.S. is not supplying. Oh, they've turned to Russia. Very good. So now the ball is in Nigeria's court. The insurgents are on Nigerian soil and not on the U.S. soil. So we should not blame the U.S. for anything. Whatever we can do to get our based on the Naira devaluation, I think so much that we should focus on other sources of revenue rather than crude oil. Crude oil seems to be falling now, and you know, if we should depend on that, one day our economy will be. There was something right here in Ukraine. Last year, they complained of something $1 billion. And this is the $20 billion that Malam Sanusi alleged that that was missing in the NNPC, and Nigeria is still running fine. So at the end of the day, Nigeria, I believe we can do more if we can look beyond petroleum and focus on agriculture, focus on other sectors of income. Thank you very much.
All right, Gadi. Just before we go, Benjamin, you're just coming, but you're coming when we're about wrapping up this conversation. But I'll come to you. But then let me just take the last word from Gadi, Peter Hannibal, and Kaladi. Gadi, it's you now. What's your last word?
Well, my last word on this is that 2014 has not been a great one for our country, and we've been hit by the war, so far, and this is basically jobbers, and no one has actually been active enough to do the right thing. Our president, it started from the presidency and everyone there, who are only willing to attack anyone who says anything that is wrong against this government. Our country has never seen it this worse. I am still young, but I think that I do remember a lot of things that has happened good in our country. So, in a nutshell, I think that 2015 should be something which we don't want to see the similarity between 2014 and 2015. And for that to happen, it means that all hands has to be on deck. We really have to ask ourselves, where do we want to go as a country? We keep, having a lot of different groups, associations, and whatever coming up. Those who there was sometime this year they had the group called the Generational Voices, the Gen Voices. Even I don't even know what is happening with that group. At some point it felt like they were going to take over the country. And then they had the 30% or nothing. I don't even know what is happening. So we always pumped with energy when it comes, forming a new acronym. Forming with something. We want to liberate the country. And then after a while, nothing happens because nobody is really, either for fear of dying or for fear of being stopped, getting the thing that you think that is actually your daily bread. Everybody goes back to sleep and lets the criminals keep running the daylight of the people. So from the PVC issue with the insurgency and then with the political brouhaha that is going on, I think that our country has not ended in a good note. And there is no sign so far that 2015 is going to start up that way, because we're still going to witness a lot of things. If 2015, I said that if 2015, there was a possibility that 2015 should be moved forward, I would actually appreciate that. Then the tension will come down. But again, why are people clamoring now? Why are people? We have seen elections before. Why is it that 2015 is the one that everyone is talking about? Perhaps because the country has been so bad that now a lot of people are waking up and realizing that they want to have it changed, or because the country has been so weakened and so corrupt, and everybody who has a chance or who is thinking bad or thinking in a negative way that wants to or has the intention to loot and to steal sees this as an opportunity to go and get whatever they get, because they see that there is nothing happening on the leadership level to stop the crimes from happening. So what better opportunity for you to go and be part of the national mess than now? Because after now, it may never happen. So that is the whole thing. I see it on this two-way. This is a two-way thing. You know, some people are fighting for it to change the status quo, while some people are fighting to keep the status quo because it benefits them more than the general populace. So I think that I look forward to really see a prosperous and a happy country. But for now, I don't see that happening. They say there is no light in the end of the tunnel in this time. It's really bad. So that is it.
We also hope all that you just said. We also wish that for the country. But Hannibal, let me just come back to you now, just in wrapping up. Few lines, few words, your last word. Hannibal.
Yeah, I can hear you. Actually, you know, it's going to be all right. You know, as far as we cannot recognize, we all recognize our common enemy, you know, because at any point in time in life, you know, there is always issues. You know, when issues come up, but the most important thing is for us to recognize our common enemy, you know, which is corruption, you know, bad leadership, and the quest for political power from our political gladiators, you know, and lack of ideology, you know. But I want to put in one point here that the cancellation of the training by the Nigerian government is a good idea, because you see, the Americans keep criticizing everything that we do, and they are not providing solutions. You know, these people used to sell us arms in the pretext that we cannot maintain the weapon. That's an insult to a whole country. You know, so I think that it is a very good idea, and to preserve the national integrity. I applaud the federal government for cancelling that training program, because we shouldn't be giving to people that is going to benefit for something and they will refuse to help us in return. You know, sell us arms, you have money to pay, and you are not willing to sell us, telling us that we cannot maintain these things, and that is why you are not selling us, and citing abuse of human rights. You know, of these things that you yourself, the American government, they are guilty of these things all the time. You know, but I believe that it is better for us to fight terrorism to a halt first, and talk about the other things tomorrow. You know, so it is good that they have cancelled that arms program. But secondly, I think we should stop dealing with Chadian people. You know, the government should stop trusting these people from Chad. You know, they are the ones that is financing and aiding and abating terrorism in our soil. They are killing our people. You know, and we should it is high time we begin to think of a way, you know, to take this battle to Chad to Chad, you know, to be able to forestall these incursions of our territory, our territorial integrity, you know. So that is what it's going to be. And secondly, the local population should at all times volunteer information to our security agency, because that's the only way we can succeed in this war against terrorism, because the security agents cannot do it alone, you know. And also, big kudos to the vigilante boys, local civilian JTF, for the job well done. You know, I hope they should continue in that tempo and liberate our soil from this rascal. That's my last word for it.
All right, guys. Thank you all for joining this hangout today. It's been a pleasure as always. You guys coming, you bring talk about things that will shape on the future of this great country. Thank you, Victor Bamishai. You're in Kiev in Ukraine. Godi Wogu, you are in Prague in the Czech Republic. And Hannibal, you are in Nicosia in Cyprus. Thank you all for joining this afternoon and for giving us insights on your thoughts on these topics that we did discuss. Once again, I'm Victor Matthias. Thank you for joining this hangout. It's goodbye until I see you next week.
Thank you.
Yep.